Hello and welcome to my channel Crying Fly. My name is Steve and today I will show how you can creating some operations in the production workspace of Fusion 360 on Linux. Okay, we change to my desktop and then I show you what we make today. So now we opening the terminal. Switch to my Fusion 360 folder and starts the program Fusion 360. So here I make a little cut and then we continue with our project. So here we are, and what we're doing today is we switch from the construction workspace to the production workspace. Okay, so then we switch to my folder and we're opening this project here. This is a water pump, and here can we see the table what we need for the threads, and here is my water pump. Okay, what we're doing today is we creating this red object here. I hide this one here. Yes, here you can see the black ceiling ring, and so this one we will creating today in the production workspace, and we switching to this one. And now we can see here our object what we creating today. And here we can see these 4 threads, and when we look on the right side on the table, then we can see that I have selected an M10 thread. And what we need for the threads is an borehole, and this one we need for the next step where we're creating these threads. Then we have a middle hole here, and this hole has a diameter of 10 millimeters here. And then we have these 2 pockets here, the big one and the little one for the sailing ring. Then we have a chamfer here. And we have round corners, and yes. Before we starting here, I switch to the construction workspace and I will show what we can see when we create an action analysis. And here we can see now the section of these threads here. Okay, then we switch to the production workspace again, and yes. So then we come to the next. Here we can see some tabs, milling, turning, and so on. And every tab has another operations what we can doing there. But today we use this tab here, the milling, and yes. So when we click on this one here, we can see a lot of operations. We can select it for our project here. Can plan the top side of our object here. Here can we drill our holes. And later we click here on this one, where we can creating our threads with a milling operations. And this one we need for our pockets. The big one and the little one for our sailing ring. And for the round corners and for the chamfer we need this operation. Okay. Then we go to the bottom side. And we see here that we have more options on this workspace here. First option, we can change the view of the tool. And the second one, we can fade in, fade out the operations. Here we can change the active setup for synchronizing. And this one is for the raw part. Okay, so then we must create a new setup here. And in this folder we creating our operations here. And yes, but better where is it when you creating a setup for the milling and set up for the drilling. And yes, here we have an option to combine the setups. Here we can create a new folder, a template, a manual and C output, and yes. So then we can see here more options what we can do. And this one here we need later for the simulations where we can see what our operations to do. Here we have an option for the post-processing and so on. We come to the next, where we can create with this one a new tool. When we have a sketch or a CAD of a tool, then we can importing this one here, and then we have here a library of our tools. And now we can see a lot of tools what we can select, and yes, and we can see here when we clicking on these tools, we can see on the right side our tools. Okay, so then we have here on the right side the option to select the category of our tools, and when we select the milling category, then we see a lot of types, and here we can filtering the tools. Maybe we can select here the material of our tools, or we can select here the number of cutting edges. And when we click on the other categories, we can see more types what we can select for our project here. Then I select the tool for cutting the threads. And this one I have created itself, because this tool wasn't in this library here. And when we go here, and we see a lot of options, we can importing or exporting our tools, or we have here the options where we can create a new tool, and you can select the category of this tool, and also you can select the type. And when we click on this one here, we have some options where we can configuration our tool. Here can you see when we changing the type of this tool, so we can see what happens. And I think this is a good way for creating a new tool for us. You can see when we change some values, and yes. So then we come to the next step. We have an option to show us the library of our machines. And when we click here, then we see more machines that we can select for our projects. And here we can see the library of the post processor. Here we can see now the library of templates, and yes. So now we're starting with creation and new setup folder. Now we can see the raw part, and on the right side we have a lot of options. First one what we can select is the machine for our project here. Then we can select the operation type, milling, and so on. And we can also here on the bottom side select an stamping device for our raw part, but this one we don't use today. So then we click on this one here, and here we can configuring our raw part, and I make this now, and here you can see now the status of our raw part. Okay, and we come to the next one where we creating our part. And the first one what we do now is we plan our part here, and yes, I select on planning, then we choose a tool for this operation, we click on the category milling and select this type here for planning. We can see on the left side the tools, and we select this one here, and this has a diameter of 50 millimeters, and when we look on the right side we can see more information about this tool. Okay, so now we select this one, and we can see now our tool here on our workspace, and we have here on the right side more options, but yes, we can see here, and here we can see the different levels of height. When we go over this one, then tell Fusion 360 us where is our tool, and yes. And this one here is important for us. Here can we change the end height, and on this tab we have also some points what we can change here for this operation. We can change the pause and more. So now we click on OK, and we can see now our tool, and we can see the operations part of this one. And when we click here on this option, then we can hide our finished model, and we see only the raw part. Now it's time to simulating, and now we can see what happens now. So that was our first simulation of our first operation we have created here in the production workspace of Fusion 360 on Linux. And here we can see now that the 1 millimeter of the raw part is gone. And here we can see more informations about these operations. We can see how long is the time to finish this operation and so on. So then we come to the next step, where we will creating these holes here in the middle of this object here. and we must prove now the diameter of this hole. So we can now see that the diameter is 10 millimeters, and we can now start with the drilling of this hole. Select the category drilling and we select this one and search for the diameter 10 millimeters. And now we can see on the left side the tools what we can use. Okay, I select this one here, then we must select the hole. We have here also some options what we can use when we have maybe the same holes of this one here in the object. Okay. Then we have also here the options for configuring the height of our tool. And when we change the view of our model, then we can see now that our tool doesn't go through completely. But we can solve this problem when we click on here. And when you select this option, then it's important that you have enough space under this part, or you have an sacrificial plate under this one. Okay, then we have here on this tab also some options, and yes, so then we click on OK, and the next operation is finished. And when we go to the simulation, then we can see now our drilling operation. So, and when we click on these points here, then we can see the progress of the creation of our object here, and yes. So we start with the next step, where we're creating the holes for the threads, and we need for this one our table here on the right side. And in this table we can see now that we need a core hole for the tab 8.5 millimeters, and this is what we make now. So then we must select the holes, and I select only one hole, and when we go to the options here, then we can select this one here, and with this option we can select also the same holes that has the same diameter of our one hole what we have selected at the beginning of our operation here. Okay, and we are finished with this operation now. then we go to the simulation and we show what is happening when this operation is done. And now we can see that our core holes are finished. And yes, so the next one is we were creating the threads, and for this one we must click on here, then we select a tool, we go to the milling, and select this one here. And now we can see on the left side I have a tool for this one, but this tool I have created itself. And yes, we selected this one, and we must also click on these points here. Then we select also this option here, and now we can see all threads are selected, and we can click on OK. We go to the simulation and we are looking now what happens. So our threads are finished, and we can go to the next step where we will creating these pockets here, the big one and the little one for our sailing ring. And yes, so we clicking on this one here, and then we select a tool. Then we click on this pocket here, and when we go to this tab here, then we have here the option where we can make a little space where we can later make another operation for cleaning up this here. Okay, but here in this project we doesn't need this one, and I click on it, and we are finished now with this operation. Then we go to the simulation and looking again what happens now. So we can see here that our tool are milling this pocket here, and yes, so the next one is we creating also this operation for this little pocket here. And now we also finished with this operation. We click on simulation and we can see what happens now. So, and when we change the operations here from the beginning to the end, and we can see now the progress of the creation of our model here in this project. So then we come to the next step, where we will creating this round edges here. We also select a tool for this operation. And we select this line here. When we click on OK, then we see now that we have a problem because our tool doesn't go completely through the workpiece. Okay, so we must go to back. And change this value, and then we have solved this problem now. We click on OK, and our operation is already done. We can go to the simulation and show us what happens. So the next one, and also the last one, is we will creating this chamfer here, and for this we must also create the 2D contour, and we select this tool here. Then we click on this line here. And click on OK. And we have finished all operations in our project here now. And we can also go to the simulation and see what happens. And yes, that was for today, and in the next videos I will show you what can you also doing here in this program on Linux. Thank you for watching, and if you like my video, then was good you give me a thumb up please, and don't forget to subscribe my channel Crying Fly. And don't forget to click on the little bell here so you don't miss any news in the future. Okay, that was, and have a nice day. Goodbye.